Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Welcome to episode 126 of Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. I am Jack with my fellow host of
Brian.
Duncan.
Duncan probably broke up.
Duncan probably lost.
I said Duncan. I swear to God, I said Duncan.
Okay.
I have
Appease your machine spirit.
Damn machine spirit. Keep going.
Jamie.
And John.
And Jack. Oh my good gracious. All right, so we have a episode for you tonight that includes Duncan talking but not talking, and other shenanigans. But before we get into that, let's kick over to a quick station identification.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor, Elric Hobbies, for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HERESYABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HERESYABB at checkout.
Identification. And thank you to our patrons. Without you, none of this is possible, so thank you all very much. So before we get into anything else, let's go into the news.
News?
Or is it hobby? Is this my first time doing the show?
Hobby's probably...
Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's your first time.
Oh my god. Okay. Hobby.
Hobby-wise.
It's still John. No matter what we do, it's still John.
Yeah. It's still John either way. So hobby-wise this week, I managed to find some more effect parts online, and they started coming in slowly. I got a couple different size missiles for the carapace weapons on the knights that I've been working on. So I got those weapons drilled out, and I got the missiles mated up so that they can work on there. Then I started working on, I got the two castigators assembled. I'm working on the last Acheron right now. Before we started recording tonight, I went to my folks real quick to use their bandsaw, because it's a little easier than using some of the smaller tools I have around the house, to cut a land speeder in half, because I want this last Acheron to be doing something that's kind of cool with its effect parts. So it's going to be cutting a land speeder in half, and the Marine crew as well.
Nice.
And I got the second castigator has the obviously that same fire sword effect, so I had to cut out that sword and then scratch build the interior and the strengthening pins and all that stuff all over again. So that was fun. And did a little bit of cleanup around the house and was able to get a lot of my dead bodies sorted, because Jamie sent me a care package of awesomeness that contained a bunch more dead Kriegers, which is what's on a lot of my night bases, and then some dead Terminators, which I have some dead Word Bearers on the nights as well. So it's nice to have both those as new body parts to throw all over the bases.
There's dreads in there too.
Yes, there's dreads. They're not going to fit on night bases though, because one of the things I'm running into the fact with all these effect parts and everything is there's not a ton of real estate on the night bases to actually play with. So unless you're planning on mounting the thing under the knight and then playing with that part, which I've done for the banner bearer, There's not a lot you can do with the base area on there unless you plan ahead, which sadly on a lot of these nights I kind of have to go with flat feet on some of them and stepping on some of the other ones. So those dreads are going to be used on something else. But don't you worry about it. They will be put to use by the end of the year.
Bob, use them on terrain.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. It'll be terrain or it'll be another basing project. I have plans there. I have plans. That's been most of my hobby. Right now I'm cleaning in a Castus to go with it as kind of the period at the end of the sentence that is this night. So it'll be nice to have this all finished together, and then I think for my next project I'm actually going to take a breather and work on one of either the half-finished Gundams I've got or one of the other half-built models that I've got worked through. So kind of work on one of those after all these nights, which probably isn't going to be until June-ish, as I'm still trying to get ready for the Dallas Open, which at current time of recording is 19 days away. So I've definitely got to speed up my painting because I think one or two of the nights that I built over the last couple weeks is actually in the list. So that's been me. What about Mr. Roboto, Duncan?
Well, if my computer will let me talk and not decide to garble me, this week I've only got a little bit of stuff done. I got with Jack, got him some stuff that we ordered for hobby stuff. I built a Blood Slaughter, one of 3 I have to build for this Night Lords list that I'm working on. And
there he goes.
There he goes.
He also did a full movie watch marathon on Highlander. Watched all the Highlander movies, which is what, like 5 of them? 1, 2.
At least,
And then he 7, I think, and then he rewatched 2 because it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I really want to hear his review on the 1990s animated TV show. That was probably the highlight.
And then he finished all of that with Willow.
okay, now Willow's a good movie. I could hear all.
I
could hear all
Willow,
of
the
that
TV show.
and the TV show. I didn't hear the rest of it, so I'm going to go ahead yet again dispute that you all said anything about anything else. I also did some unfolding work at the house that I had to do toilet surgery. It was not fun.
No.
Yeah, no, that was not fun. Jack, what'd you do this week?
I worked on a bunch of Redacted, followed by a bunch more Redacted, and I got the paint scheme possibly figured out for Redacted. And then I kicked it over to Jamie.
So this was my last week of soccer. So I really hadn't gotten a whole lot of hobbying done. What I have gotten done was I've continued working on project HOV Lane Passenger. The torso, main part of the torso is in the printer right now. I've also been press ganged more for more John Terrain as per normal. Then today, before I took a little time today to break down my print area. Before the tariffs kicked in, I was able to get some. It's kind of like industrial contact paper is the best way or shelving paper. It's like plastic, so I put that on top of the table that I'm printing on because it's waterproof and it doesn't, like, stuff won't adhere to it. So it's pretty tough. I had to cut it with like an X-Acto blade to fit. So I had to take all my printers off, clean them, and then put that down, size it up, and then tack it down, and then put the printers back up on them, and then re-level it, and then start printing again. I also got the new wash and cure station from Elgaloo or whatever. It's the version 3. Funny enough, I have actually all 3 versions now. So the version 2, which is the one I originally had, is pretty small. It's for like a Mars size printer, if people know what that is. It's not. It's okay. It's just too small for the Saturns and the Jupiters, like the medium and the large size print area printers. So I had been using the XS, which is I guess technically the 1.0, which the XS one is two separate units. It's a wash and a cure base. I like them a lot, but the curing station is not big enough for the Saturn 3s up, like Saturn 3, 4, and 4s, and the Jupiter SC. It's just not enough area on the plate to cure everything. So I got the new 3.0, which is much bigger, like huge curing area. And the only problem with it is it reverted back to a combo station. So like if you want to wash, you have to take the curing platform off and then put the wash tank on, which the wash tank is a lot bigger, but the wash tank is the basket that you put stuff in is not stainless steel anymore. It's plastic.
Ooh.
So
Would not owning two of this device make it a little easier?
yes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using my XS wash station because it's more than sufficient to wash stuff, and then I've got the new one, the curing part of the 3.0 set up to cure stuff because it's a much bigger curing platform. And it mechanically wise, the way it works, it's a little bit better than the XS. The XS uses what's called a reflective eye, which is kind of like a little infrared eye that bounces off of something and then back to a receiver eye. It doesn't always register when you there's like a sticker on a corner of the lid, and it doesn't always register the sticker is there. The only reason I know about them is because they used to use them for paintball hoppers, and that's how it would tell the hopper to feed the paintball down. But anyways, the 3.0 actually has like a mechanical switch. So when you take the lid off, it opens up a pressure switch and it cuts the light off on the inside, so you don't like burn your retinas out with UV light. And it's like much bigger and nicer so it has some positives and negatives. I'd say overall it was a pretty decent purchase. I got it on sale. There was like a flash sale on Amazon the other day, and I was like, what the hell? I got that, and I also ordered the Chi2 quick replace VAT as well because I kind of need new FEPs, and like a FEP and a second VAT was about the same price as that. So that's what I ended up doing. And they've been being used, and then kind of just been organizing stuff so that I can build. And I've also been test fitting parts and sanding parts of the Titan's legs together. So it's basically ready to kind of like actually building it and putting it together.
Nice.
So, well, the waist down, the upper half, I'm still printing parts out for it. So, and I'm trying to come up with a paint scheme and a Titan Legion, and I've kind of narrowed it down to two. And before the show started, John and I were kind of talking about schemes to try and find transfers for them because Titan transfers are elusive, let's call it that, in big boy Titans. So, anyways, I will get back into normal 40K or 30K building and painting, like probably this week. I'll be on the hobby hangout because no more soccer till probably like August, I'm hoping. So anyways, who hasn't gone? Is Brian? Is it Brian gone?
No.
I didn't do much. I took a look at my Star Wars Armada stuff, and I cleaned up my Republic fleet a little bit. Noticed a whole bunch of the fighter bases were all janky and knocked about. Organized some new stuff that I picked up used. Got to talking with a local friend of mine. Sounds like we're going to meet up and hobby at least one day a week. He wants to do it to try and remotivate himself back into Heresy. He had 2 armies. I think he's just down to his Blood Angels now. which look really pretty because I airbrushed a bunch of the tanks. Yeah, other than that, that's about all I got. I apologize for the road noise. I'm on the way back from the in-laws.
It's okay.
All right, so that then takes us over to the news, which is where I was trying to take us anyway about 10 minutes ago.
You're fine. This week in GW related news, we're definitely doing better than we were last time, where we had no previews at all. This time we actually have some Age of Sigmar previews, which is all of the Soulblight Grave Lords. If you're looking at a Vampire Count's Old World army, you could definitely steal some parts out of these guys. I would also probably look at this lady right here for a Militia Beast Tamer. But that's really all that's coming from official GW hands this week. Neat terrain in there that could go with some of the older terrain that was out there. During the week, we actually got something that's vaguely Heresy related in all of the Space Wolf reinforcements coming out. So Logan Grimnar ditches his Santa sleigh and gets 2 wolves in a bigger base. Since he's an Indomitus armor, you could definitely steal him for a character in one of your armies.
I know a lot of people are upset that he doesn't have a sleigh. There's been tons of memes about it already.
Oh, yeah. Arjack Rockfist gets in the resculpt as well. I can definitely see some cool librarians pulling off this pose in forces. Speaking of librarians, the Jaw Stormcaller is... I always love models that are two-handing weapons because it's really been technically impossible for the majority of time that GW has made models. So anytime you can get parts that you can use for librarians or for heralds, it's always a cool thing. So definitely cool to steal more parts off of this guy. Also, Secret Raven Guard model right there on the side with the Cyber Raven. And then the Wolf Guard Terminators are getting a resculpt and update. Some really cool bits in here if you're doing Space Wolves for Heresy or if you just want to steal parts for some conversions that are coming up. Like this guy, I'm definitely stealing that axe for a Terminator Armored Herald that I want to work on later. Again, nothing really dropped this week, so it's all just some of the stuff that came out last week that's still up on GW's website. If you look at so some of the other things that are kind of out there in the world are from Monster Fight Club. This is something we all saw previewed at Adepticon, which is their pre-painted monster scenery Metropolis 2.0. So Metropolis 1.0 was kind of a bland, boring buildings and things. Monster Fight Club has done a lot of really cool pre-painted hills and trees and things like that. Will locally gave me a couple of the tree sets and some other things to go with some of the buildings that or some of the terrain that I've been working on. But I walked by this terrain a lot at Adepticon, and I'll definitely be looking forward to this Kickstarter when it comes out. If it's something decently priced, I can see a lot of people playing Necromunda on this, or sprinkling it in with a lot of their existing Heresy terrain that's coming out. Right now on Kickstarter, though, the immersive tabletop gaming mat. Oh, they just canceled this while we were talking. Okie dokie. So this was a Kickstarter for gaming mats. It looks pretty cool, but it doesn't exist anymore. War Games Exclusive has come out with another cool model to show off. These are called Mechanical Shrimp. They work really good for Secutari, I believe is the name of them. The Rad Furnace infused rogue AI freak shows that you can get as bodyguard for your Mechanicum Lords in your Mechanicus lists. And then I also had pulled up another Kickstarter here from Evolved Games. So this is going to be running soon for their Desert Rocks and Scrap Fortress. So this is another good Necromunda and or generic Age of Darkness board terrain. So this is 3D printable. You can see here is that, oh, is it actually running on Kickstarter or is this one going to be canceled too? Oh, this one's actually running. So it's got 10 days to go. So this is printable terrain that you can get. Comes with a bunch of really cool rock terrain that's set up, as well as that kind of orc-looking scrap stuff. So here's the fortresses, and it's all modular pieces, so it makes it really cool for working on doing whatever you want to kind of customize it, set it up yourself. So if that's what you're looking for as far as terrain goes, I would get a look into that. But other than that, there's really been nothing on even the third party stuff. So nothing new from Starforge this week, and nothing new from Mercioid or from Joy Toy this week. Saying that though, Joy Toy did do something odd, and I kind of wanted to talk about this as I don't really know how to approach it because I don't know what they're doing. They're running a Kickstarter right now that is called Warhammer 40K pre-painted licensed posable action figures. Yeah, that's what Joy Toy does. Duh. It's kind of my response. And I've been trying to read this, but it's written in very English. So you can tell that the people who wrote this, definitely English is not their first language, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there. It looks like what they're trying to do is set up a local or an American company that can distribute Joy Toy figures without paying the tariff somehow. So it's going to be odd.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've kind of thought about this with some of the industry. Like, we've been seeing a lot of stuff from other gaming manufacturers just throwing their hands up and throwing a fit about it. And I figured some of the more ingenious companies that are based out of Asia would figure ways around the tariffs, which would probably be setting up local distribution places and probably shipping through like Mexico or Canada or someplace that had much lower tariffs. But,
yeah, so this is set up out of Arizona.
Yeah.
And they've got a bunch of different levels of tiers set up. Most of the figures, I'm being completely honest with you, aren't that cheap compared to their normal prices that you can get from some of the other retailers. So Angron is still $380. Most of these quote unquote Kickstarter sale prices, $400 down to $380. Like, you're getting, most of the time you're getting better than that on credit card points. Like, what is their quote unquote sales here is my question. But they've got nearly every figure they've come out with in the last while. So they've got a lot of the current 40K Black Legion figures, a lot of Calgar's Honor Guard, Zaphon there, but not a lot of the like Ultramarine or Fist line infantry that has been come out. And I think that's because they've kind of discontinued making them for a while. Joy Toy does like GW, where they produce things in waves.
Yeah.
And so it looks like they've kind of discontinued a lot of the basic infantry. The other kind of funny thing is the company they're making is called Golden Goose Games, and they end every email with "honk honk the geese."
All right,
What?
so
Yep.
So I've backed this for $1 to kind of keep an eye on what's going on, just to kind of keep us in the loop. But they keep sending me emails saying, "Hey, you backed for $1, but you're not picked a figure." So when you go to manage your pledge, you can actually see what's going on there, and you can see which figures you want to manually add, unless you're doing one of these bundles. So you can do the Imperial Fist bundle, which is the I forget was it Raldoron? I forget his name, the double axe guy, and then Sigismund and the generic Fist Captain from the Age of Darkness box. So they've kind of bundled. Man, that's it. Yeah, they've kind of bundled these figures together into small sets, unless you want to go barking mad for $3,800 and get all of it. So yeah, if you pledge $1, it unlocks their pre-order store, and then you can get the figures for whatever the quote unquote discounted price is for this campaign. Again, I've seen lower prices on USA Gundam and New Type and even Amazon. But the question is are those other places still going to be able to keep those lower prices after the tariffs and everything else going on? So if it's up your alley, it's something you might want to look up and consider, but it's completely up to you. I just wanted to let everyone know what weird stuff going on. Honk honk goose.
That is, I'm not
Honk,
gonna lie,
honk.
is odd.
Yep. And they've been advertising this on Facebook for like the last 2 weeks. It's constantly like Joy Toy Goose, Joy Toy Goose. And I was like, what is
So I'm
goose?
assuming you back it and then you get the first run out of the U.S. made stuff.
It doesn't even say they're making it in the U.S.
Yeah, I think they're still making it in Asia. It's getting shipped to like an intermediary and then trucked across the border. Is what I'm getting out
Yeah,
of it.
I'm wondering if it's like smuggling, but with extra steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that I've seen people that they're saying some of the companies, and I'm not going to mention them. That's kind of what they're doing is they're shipping stuff to Canada, okay, near the Canadian-U.S. border, and then they're have a warehouse in Canada set up for like the rest of the world, okay, and then from that warehouse in Canada, they literally ship it across the U.S. border by truck or train, and then have a U.S. distribution warehouse to try and get around the tariffs. So it's shipping direct with extra steps.
Yeah, and here they say they're absorbing all U.S. tariffs.
So I mean, like, a lot of companies are most of their sales are, to be honest, are from the United States, and I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, but that's the honest to God truth. If you look at the trade and the way trade works, and so cutting off basically all U.S. trade to a lot of these companies in Vietnam, India, China, along the Pacific Rim, where a lot of it's made, is already drastically hurt a lot of these companies. So
Yeah, and it says here that you can still order from Joy Toy, but this is a way to guarantee and make it easier for people to buy. I know a lot of people have been gun shy about ordering direct from Joy Toy or that Cool Stuff or Cool Toys Inc. that I've talked about earlier that made all the custom parts. Those are officially affiliated with Joy Toy. So some people have been a little gun shy about buying direct from them since they are a Chinese or Philippine or wherever they're located company, because each one of them is different. And so I guess this is just a way to have a larger American distributor.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you would have to kickstart that.
Yeah, well,
I guess if you just want more seed money, so.
Well, just look at CMOD, what's going on with that. So.
Oh, yeah.
They did it to themselves, though.
Yes, yes, they did.
That's odd.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is kind of in reaction to some of the larger stuff they've had issues with, because we know they had issues with the manufacturer of the night.
Yep.
I went this week to one of my local Japanese convenience stores, and they have a large Joy Toy display. They've had it for a couple of years, and they sell fairly regularly of all the normal sized figures, but the Grey Knight, Dread Knight, they've had 6 of those since they came out nearly 2 years ago. So I wonder if they're maybe a little more gun shy about the larger stuff, which is never going to sell as well.
Right.
So maybe that's it. Maybe they're just looking at this as a way to get seed money into producing more of the larger stuff, or making it kind of a pre-order pipeline a little easier for people. Either way, it's damn odd.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in Joy Toy figures and want a direct shot, you've got 12 more days to back those. I'm going to stick with the methods I've been using. I've got too many figures as it is right now, so I think I'm good here. I'm just keeping an eye on it for everybody else.
All right. Well, thank you, John.
That's the news.
Okay. Outstanding. So that takes us over to the basis of this episode, which is, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what it is.
I don't think any of us actually quite know what it is tonight.
Outstanding.
Uh, so one thing that I've gotten a couple messages about, and this is, I think, honestly, Jack's fault.
It's always his fault.
One of our listeners, who's also part of the Discord, named Dodson, asked me to come up with for an idea, an Emperor's Children list for him. But he hasn't sent me what all he's got in his mini collection, so he's gonna get that to me this next week, hopefully. And once we get that, I can get that list kind of built up for him. But what he had wanted was tips and suggestions for lists for slow grow leagues, starting at 500, moving up from there, and how to think about lists that would be fun to play and to play against. Grow. So everybody get that?
Slow grow.
Yeah, slow grow. What do people think about slow grow? So I know that Blake down in Alabama is doing a slow grow right now.
Yeah, he
I
just
think it's
started.
interesting. It's not something that really fits with the way that I paint stuff.
It's not. Yeah, same.
I try to do the whole project at once to make sure it matches as much as I can.
Or that you have the paints available or something like that, so that you know what you need to get up front.
Yep.
Big
I'll be honest,
issue I see is that you really, really have to give a good group of people that will honor that good faith contract, because slow growing heresy from 500 points, even at 250 point increments, things can get really weird really fast. That's just my thought, but I like the idea.
That's fair. I'll be honest, I've never participated in a true slow grow league that actually lasted very long. The last two that I got kind of roped into, this was back in 40 days, and everyone kind of went off the rails after about the first month and started branching out and buying stuff and doing things, and it jumped from a 1,000 point list rather than 250 points. It jumped almost to like 2,500 because people had just gone ahead and done whatever they wanted. So
I've got my toys and I
hopefully,
want to play with them now.
yeah, that's kind of how it seems to go a lot.
But what would y'all recommend
One thing
for list ideas for primers? Is that basically the crutch of this?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think if you're going to do a slow row and you have a dedicated group that's all willing to do it together, I think that the very first thing that people should do is just start off with the basics that you need for any list. Have yourself a generic HQ of whatever type you want it to be, and then just get your two first troops down that you're going to actually use. So if you're going to do, like, using generic Marines as an example, you could do breachers, you could do tacticals, you could do spoilers, you could do recons, etc., etc., etc. Best thing I think for everybody is to go ahead and just start off with the one HQ, one squad of tactical goons, and then one squad of despoilers. That way you have different routes you can take it for play depending on what legion you have or what play style you decide that you, coming in newly to Heresy, you determine you actually like playing with. Does that make sense?
Would you suggest
Yeah,
And I wouldn't.
and it would also be a good way to like experiment with allies and adding in some of the other stuff that you don't normally use.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you could be doing that as a slow grow to build like an Imperial, like a Solar Ox list that you could ally to, say, your Salamanders that you normally would play.
I have a
It can be a good
question.
enough list. Yeah.
By generic HQ, do you mean just like a bare bones Centurion, not even a Delegatus? because I like that idea.
I think a bare bones Centurion for a 500 point list. No Delegatus, no nothing. Just Mook generic Centurion would work best. That way you could focus on putting a little bit more effort into like your tactical guys. So you could add some more war gear to your sergeant.
Maybe buy an apothecary.
Yeah, something like that. Use that first 500 points to get into what you want to try to build your list towards, what you want to try to make for the actual force. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got thoughts?
Well, I mean, generally when you're doing this, you're gonna have to pick stuff out that's pretty much plastic. So, if you're doing, are most of these in store or?
I don't know. This was a question that literally came, and I figured I would answer as best I could because I was asked about it. That's why I'm kind of broaching you all because I don't have a lot of experience with slow growth, like I said.
I haven't either. Unfortunately, I'm like John, where basically I build an army list or different sections of an army and do like huge groups at one time so that I can paint stuff all matching. When I've done, and this is kind of how I've always worked. Same thing with like when I have to do toys for tots, I'll have to do like basically the whole plan out the whole army and do it all, kind of build it and paint it, or all at one time. So I have very little experience with it. I mean, like when I first started playing back in the early 2000s, I kind of did it a little bit because like it was right around when 4th edition came out, and you would get a new Marine or a new Tyranid unit probably about every other week for quite a long time when they were rolling out the 4th edition Marines. So I mean, I basically would pick a unit that would come out that I'd need and paint it and build it in the store. So, but it's been a long time. I really don't have a whole lot of experience with it. I know Blake was trying to get me to get in on it, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we kind of do that with Hobby Hangout, maybe like on Wednesday nights, because generally most people are working on like one specific project during that. So, or a unit.
I think a good idea
Yeah.
to start it is to start with the allies matrix versus the full fat matrix, because yes, I agree, start with your HQ, start with your troops, but to keep it entertaining, like let people branch out into that, a fast or a heavy or whatever it is that tickles them. That way they stay engaged with it, because if I had to sit there and grind out HQ and 2 troops, I would abandon it in 3 seconds to start with.
Especially if you're doing like Solar Ox or something like that, that would
Mm-hmm.
the troop units generally are quite large.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're like paint a unit, paint other parts of your army, come back to, and then have to come back to and paint more troops after you've put them down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the monotony of knowing that all of my troops are done and I never have to touch them again unless I want to add something bigger later.
I think what we could do is called batch painting generally.
Yep.
I mean, but everybody does, to each their own.
Different.
They do it. Everybody does it their own way. I know trying to get people into the hobby, like in stores and stuff, that's kind of the way to approach it, I guess, with making it not as audacious or like intimidating with like doing batch painting like John. You've got 50 some odd sentinels or sentinel adjacent or whatever that you're having to work on and paint at one time. And people are like, what is that? And he's like, oh, well, this is just one unit,
Yeah, and it's also easier for people to get into the game. Like, for us, it's easier to talk about adding models or starting a new army because we already know where we're going, kind of.
Right.
if you're just getting into the game and you walk up to a table like, oh yeah, you got to paint these 200 models. If you're doing a whole infantry force, like a lot of people are going to like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's easier to get them in with, smaller steps. I don't want to say the drug dealer, the first hit's always free, but it's a little easier pill to swallow when it's not so large. You gotta eat a horse one bite at a time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And branching out, I kind of agree with Jack that once you've got your HQ, one of the things that everyone should branch out to is stuff that's not just your generic Mook troopers.
Yeah.
And they're a great way to reward yourself too after you've finished all your mooks is a unit of suzerain or whatever your cool unit is.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I kind of put the pause on the Night Lords, the troops, because I'm not quite certain how much further I want to darken down the blue. So since these are my first troops for them is kind of a tester unit, I want to be able to figure out how much darker I want that to be. That was why I went ahead this past week and just built that first blooder, because it was a palette cleanser in a way for me, just sitting there staring at blue and shading darker blues on top of it.
That is the thing. Ye old palette cleanser.
Yep. And that's something that really, I mean, it's kind of funny to think about how many of us are in this and have been in this for so long that we have multiple upon multiple upon multiple armies. And it just kind of, how are you starting another army? Why are you starting another army when you already have all these others? And it just kind of lends to the, what is different about this that appeals to you, and why do you want to do it, and why do you want to paint it? And that, I think, should be the basis of how everybody builds an army, slow grow or not, is what about it appeals to you? Cool. Once you've got your basics down, paint that.
Yeah,
have fun with that.
The issue I kind of have with slow grows, and this isn't to say don't do them, is that they don't lend themselves well to all armies. That's not to say don't do them, but you're going to have trouble getting a knight player in at 1,000 points because they have to buy 2 armigers before they buy a knight, and buying a knight is not going to be easy for everyone else to fight at 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Same thing if you look at some of the more specialized builds, like Duncan's White Scar list for next year, or even the White Scar list we built for the Wish for Tots. If you're looking at a bike heavy force or something like that, that's not going to slow grow well because you're just going to get your rear handed to you at every game up until you finally hit the points where the army starts working.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Looking and balancing slow grow is another thing that has always been one of the things that kind of seems weird to me for slow grow. That's why I've always, if you're starting off, go with 1,000 and the whole points, not just a 500. But for the first month or 2 months, everybody works towards having that 1,000 point goal done, not a 500 point goal. So you can have some more of the fun in there, some more of the toys that allow you to spread out your focus and have a more viable force than just mook and 2 troops, if that makes it sense.
You've also got to think about what other people are playing in the event. So if you're running a slow grow and everyone is doing Marines, it's probably going to be fairly easy for you to say every week we go up X point. But if someone is playing Solar Rocks or Militia, them painting that many points is going to be exponentially more models. So it may take them longer, or you may have to spread out the jumps a little further than you may have wanted to if you've got people like that in your league.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When I ran leagues, kind of what we called slow grows, we started at 1,000, and then we went up 500 every 3 weeks. I want to say it was like a 4-week thing or 4-month thing, and so we ended up at 2,000 points back then. But what we did was we made it so that you got more points for new units, so that what it allowed people to do is after they kind of built that, you didn't have to have fully painted it. So what some people would do is they would build a list for the first week and then play with it the first week and go, man, I really don't like that unit. So then they could take that unit out and then added a new unit to see if they like that better. So they could kind of swap in and out as we went forward. This is also 40K 3rd and 4th edition, so it was a little more points heavy. You didn't have to paint there as much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any other ideas?
Yeah, one more to it. While I think the idea and the building of a slow grow is fun, I kind of think that planning out what you are going to do with that slow grow, what the point is you're wanting to build towards, and having your actual eventual goal in mind, not just a unit count, what unit budgets you're thinking about doing, can actually help you feel more motivated for participating in said slow grow. So if you know you're going to end up building a 3K list and you've already got your 3K list pointed out, you know what you're going to end up buying. Don't just buying it all at once, but as you go through the slow grow, know that hey, once I get these done, I can then start working on this special secret temp goofus unit guy or what have you. That way you can sit there and space out your more fun paints and builds to kind of provide yourself with more motivation for doing it and knowing building towards a specific goal. I think that provides me with more motivation when I'm sitting there working on a new list or working on a new army, and I'm sitting there working on generic Rampager number 75. It's more fun for me to know, hey, I'm almost to the point where I'm done with this. I'm still working on it, but I'm getting there.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you're painting orcs or IG or Tyranid, there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
And don't be afraid to set your models up when you finish them. That's one thing I do to help me with batches, not only to know where I'm going, like what's the next step and where am I in this step, but when I'm starting the army, I like to know what the finished project's like. Take that test model and put it front and center on your desk. So, when you get ready in the morning and things like that, as you come back to your hobby station, this is what I'm looking forward to. This is what I'm working toward. You know what the finished product looks like. That'll keep you motivated more than you think it will, knowing what the finished product will look like in your head.
Yeah. That's something that I think can really help also. Another thing that I think also is a good way to kind of motivate yourself and keep that motivation going is finding other people who are going to sit there and provide you with honest criticism and feedback of what you're actually working at, what you've produced so far, and provide you with ways and alternative ways that you might put more effort into one thing than you did in something else and make it look entirely different, and then kind of feel like going back and retouching up some other stuff. And that's one thing I like about the community aspect of Heresy is people posting stuff on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on whatever it is, social media that you have. Our channels here in the Discord, other channels elsewhere in Discords. Using that to get back of things that they see that you might not have seen because you were the one who was focused on doing it, and that they can provide feedback to try to make it and you better at what they see and improve. Because we all want to do the best of this we can, and all of us are hypercritical of our own work, no matter who you are or what you're doing. I know that.
I also find that sometimes I'll skip steps on certain models to see if it speeds things up. So if I'm doing a batch of 20 guys at a time, for my Marines, before I do the wax rub and buff as my gold. But before, what I was doing is I was painting that shoulder trim brown, and then I was putting a Roulet gold base coat down over that brown, and then I was coming back with that rub and buff and hitting that as a highlight. And I was like, well, I'm not seeing a lot of that roulette gold coming through, and so I set them down, walked away from them, came back the next day, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try this next batch. I'm going to try without the roulette gold just to see if it mattered. And I could not tell, and I asked other people, could they tell which models were different? And they could not tell the difference. And so from then on, I stopped doing the roulette gold. I still use roulette gold in other things, but for my shoulder pad rims, where it's not that thick, it's very thin, so it's almost like a highlight in and of itself, I could skip that step. So you can find ways as you work on batch painting and things like that where maybe you can shave a corner occasionally. It's worth it to try to experiment in those areas to see if that's something that might be worth it.
Yeah, I would agree there also.
Yeah. You really have to figure out, like, I know this is way off subject, but when you're coming up with a paint scheme, you have to ask yourself, is this something I'm going to be able to do for 100 models? Like, if it's that type of army. If it's something like a one-off where you're building just for, the shits and giggles one year, that's one thing. But if it's something that you're very passionate about or you really like, and you're going to collect a lot of, like Jamie and his Dark Angels, you got to ask yourself for that paint scheme something that you can do over and over hundreds of times.
That's
something that you can come back to as well. Is it something that you want to? I mean, if it's an army you're just going to be paint this and done with, that's fine. But like my knights, I am dreading trying to figure out how to do the rollers again for the bases, and then add all the other stuff and paint the multiple layers because each one of them separate pieces.
Well, I mean,
that's kind of a pain for me, but you got to know where that's going to happen again if you add on to it.
Generally, when I do those big armies, or like if I'm having, I will have a notebook that I make of like the paint, like my not necessarily paint recipes, but like basically the paint colors that I use. And it's gotten to the point where I may actually even just paint. I'll have like a piece of plastic card sometimes that I'll paint. I'll prime and then paint the colors so that I can see them in case they stop making that color. Like with my Night Lords, I was using a blue that's no longer made anymore. And so I'm trying to match that color blue, with another paint, or, with some other make of paint or whatever it can be, or a bit infuriating, especially if like with me, you have kind of set hobby seasons where, like, I had, in between soccer seasons or whatever, that's when I get all my stuff done, and I have to be like ready to go when that free time opens up. So it sometimes can behoove you to make notes when you're doing all that so that you can come back to it quickly.
Yeah, I would second the plastic swatch. As we know, some companies are really nice about changing colors without telling the consumer.
Yeah. Again, I do not recommend AK Interactive to anybody.
Not one of our sponsors, by the way.
Monument Hobby is very good about everything that they've made. They've kept the same color, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, so do I. More than I can mention. And keeping on what you all have just mentioned, I actually write down, and I have for example, when I was working on the Blood Angels, and I figured out what my actual red color scheme was going to be. I ended up writing down exactly how many drops of this, how many drops of that, to this, to that, to the other, for the red, and then I did the same for my gold, and I did the same for my gunmetal, and then etc. for my power swords or my power weapons.
Yeah, since I don't mix, what I do is I put the paint pots in the background of the pictures I take before I post them on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing base coats, I'll do each step of the process is a picture in a post, so that way I know I can just go back to that post for the day and look up what colors. So that really helped when I was redoing the second round of Knights, because I used Ferrari red from Vallejo. I thought I'd used the Tester's red, but it was that Ferrari red, so I was able to go back and find that when I needed it.
Now I could see that being very useful, actually.
So, speaking of our sponsor, Monument Hobby, with Pro Krill, I have now found something in their line that they don't have that I want.
What's that?
Colored metallics.
How colored are you looking?
Red, green, purple, blue. I bought their matte medium, and I tried making not matte metal medium, and tried to use some of their transparent inks for transparent paints for it, and it was so off kilter that I didn't even bother testing it more. It came out. Let's say I was using a dark blue. It came out baby blue.
Yeah, there's a little white in that
Yeah.
metal medium.
Yeah. So, would love. They could even make it the Accountability Buddies signature series of colored metallics.
Well, I've talked to them about metallics. So, from my understanding, we're not getting any more new colors this year.
I can respect that. I mean, they did do the 2 amp sets.
Yeah. There was a new metallic in the amp set. It was the steel.
Yep.
Which
in front of me.
I've been begging every time I talk to our contacts at Monument for a bolt gun metal and a 10 bits. And the steel is kind of
add warp lock bronze, is that begging?
Yeah. So and they've heard not just from me that people are looking for several specific metallic colors that they do not have. I'll just put it that way. And it's not that they are saying they're not going to do them. It's just they're not doing them this year.
Oh, I completely understand that and get it.
They're working on behind the scenes like company type stuff, like the backside of the business the rest of the year. From my understanding,
you got to take time
like
to
warehousing basically.
Yeah, you got to take time to make sure your house is in order so it doesn't fall down around your ears. I totally get and understand that.
So yeah, but it's not just us. There's a lot of people that have sent them wish list for paint colors, and some of them are been creeping out in the sets. I know, with the Adepticon set 2 years ago with magnesium, that was a color that kind of people have been hinting at and wanting. And there's a couple others too, but I know a lot of people have been asking them for metallics that you don't have to mix, like a broader range of metallics. So it's definitely on their to-do list.
Yeah, I think another thing purely for the Heresy, and I'm not saying they need to make a box set of this or anything like that, but just come up with some pre-suggested color schemes with newsletter paints for each legion, I think would also be cool for them.
I've suggested that, and I've gotten feedback on it. I really can't say anything about it, but I know I've gotten basically a list of paints back from when I asked for certain Legion color suggestions.
Well, what I can say is if somehow I ever get all of their paints, I would gladly do that.
Well, we know somebody that has all their paints. You could talk to Brian. I know it's not you, but Brian has literally every paint that they make, and any new ones they add, he goes and gets immediately. He's like one of the first people that has them. So,
frequent flyer.
Yep. But back to slow road leads. You get into them, what you put out of them. That's goes for everybody that does them. Be understanding, be patient. Think outside the box when it comes to your force organization list, so that everybody can be on the same page. Realize it's not a one size fit all for every single army, even in the Heresy, which is a lot of Marines on Marines. You're still going to have your Outliers, you're still going to have your Custodes, your Knights, your Sisters of Silence, your militia, all that good stuff. Don't be afraid to add in that treat at the end of it. Um, and don't be afraid to, in my opinion, bend the rules when it comes to certain allowances. Like, I know a big thing for me that if I was to do a slow road, I would not base my army until the very end. Simply the way that I base my army. So everybody would have to be okay with whatever my base will look like until we get to at least towards the end of me doing all infantry based models.
To be honest with you, though, it really wouldn't be too hard to like just run some basic paint color over your base and really kind of get more out of it for the temporary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hate wasting time painting stuff that's not going to be permanent.
Yeah, I kind of get you there. That's kind of I do all my
Base
bases
color,
on
base
that.
primer.
What's that, Jamie?
Pick a base primer color.
The base primer color would be black then.
Black, gray, or white.
It'd be whatever color resin that I printed my bases off with. That would be the color of them. Which right now I guess would be gray. All right. So does that covers the questions you had, Duncan? Because we went way off base there for a bit. That's my fault.
No. I mean, that's kind of what we do. Is everything kind of builds something else. And yeah, I think that covers the basis of the question we were sent. So Dodson, I hope that answers your question, sir. If you have any other specifics, just let us know, and we will.
I think what Duncan was trying to say, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach back out to Duncan, and he will answer them for you.
Yes. Yes, because as we all know, we all have questions that we need to get answered.
Yeah, and Duncan will give you all the questions to life, or all the answers to
life.
Oh,
yes. So, before we go ahead and wrap up for tonight, about the Iron Hands Army that we're doing.
I think he's reminding everybody about the Iron Hands Army that we're giving away with the keyword of Keswick. I'm not going to spell it because I don't know how to spell. That will go on for a set number of time.
Well, we have one more thing to cover, Jack.
I know we do. I was just trying to make it up for Duncan because his phone took a crap on him again.
And Duncan's ordered a new mic, by the way. It's not in yet.
For those of you at home, this is the 75th time he said he was ordering a new mic.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm trying to find where my Discord window went because I need to share the screen for the giveaway.
Oh, where did my Discord window go? Oh, where could it be?
What the hell?
Everything computer does computer things.
If I just randomly disconnect, you'll know I closed the wrong window.
Windows,
put it that way.
How do they work?
Not well.
I'm pretty sure the computers just don't work.
For some of us, more than others, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wonder if has Discord cut John yet? Has Discord made John bleed?
I don't know. It's a good question. John, have you hurt yourself with Discord yet?
Yeah, but I do have our new hobby giveaway pulled up. So this is going to be a giveaway of a Grex airbrush.
You're a Grex airbrush. Are you sharing something on the screen?
Working on it.
Oh, there
Oh,
you go.
bam.
There-
And
So this is
loaded. Okay.
the airbrush. This is an airbrush I used for a little while in the beginning. I wasn't that happy with it, and then I graduated on to Iwata, and then Chrome, and then H&S, and so this was one I had for a while, but I figured I would pass it on to one of our lucky patrons / infants. And so I'm going to go for my word this week is going to be Imperialis. So to enter this, you have to go to our Discord contest page and type the word Imperialis, and you'll be entered to win for this week. And this is going to include the airbrush itself with 3 paint cup sizes, a 0.2 millimeter nozzle kit, and a 0.3 millimeter nozzle needle itself, and then the instructions to go with it.
Okay. And they go to the contest plays on the Discord.
On the Discord.
Okay. And the keyword is
Imperialis.
Imperialis. Not to be confused with the other contest for the Army. That keyword is Keswick, where they can put that in the comments anywhere. YouTube.
Yes.
That yada yada yada. And that contest ends when, Duncan?
If my computer will decide not to destroy me, that will be running until 5/18.
5/18.
When we do the drawing during that episode.
Okay. So we have one that the Army will be until 5/18, and then the airbrush is till when, John?
Are we recording on the 25th?
Yes.
We'll do the drawing then.
Till the 25th. All right. So, Army contest 5/18, airbrush contest 5/25. And John, you're doing a different phrase for every show we're doing? Or are you staying with Imperialis?
I'll do a different phrase every show. That way we can make sure people go back to the Discord.
Okay. So, you heard that here live, man.
Ish.
Recorded live.
Recorded live.
I think we should also go ahead and let people know that we will not be recording next weekend. It is Mother's Day. Everybody who has a parental mother or a non-parental mother, go spend time with your family. We're going to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Call your parents. They would love to hear from you. Even them. You know who I'm talking to.
All right. Any tournaments, events, anything shout out? We have John and his Texas Open.
Yeah, Texas Open is going to be the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So I'll be coming back from that to give away the airbrush. It's local. And then obviously the third Saturday of every month is still the Get Dallas Game Exchange events that I'm running. So the next one will be here on May the 17th. And then after that, it'll be June 21st.
Okay. If you're local to Kentucky, they're meeting Saturday, May the 31st at that one place, the Battle Forge.
In Lexington.
Ran by Keith. So Powerful Keith will be running that. What else we got?
You've got the Glacia 4 or IV, I don't know how it's calling it, for Bama Heresy on May 31st to June 1st. Tickets are already on sale. I know they were close to having it booked up. And then they also, as Duncan and I kind of mentioned earlier, Bama Heresy is starting a slow grow league to get everybody encouraged painting and hobbying. So if you want more information on that, and go to the Bama Heresy Facebook page. Blake's already got something posted up about that. I know we've got members from outside of Bama. There's a lot in North Florida, Central Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, and I think some even from Kentucky as well. So check that out.
And the Betrayal is on 5. We need to shut that out also, since we won't be recording next week. in Pennsylvania. In I can't remember.
Let's see here. Duncan died on that one, so go to that event. I'm looking for it now, but I cannot find it very, very quickly. Music City Heresy will be coming back. No dates on that one. But they do have a Space Marine and a cowboy hat. Looks like he's singing songs about his dog and his wife running off together and getting married. All right, I think that puts a pin in tonight. Any disagreement, everyone?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, John, you know what to do.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this, the 126th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. My name is John. This night I've been joined by
Brian.
Duncan with a bad microphone.
Jack.
And Jamie.
We appreciate everyone coming along with us tonight. Remember to always stay accountable to yourselves, to your buddies, and to your hobby. And we'll talk to you next time.
See y'all.
Night.
Bye.
There you go.
Like and subscribe and see ya.